Hello everyone. Sef Alchemist here. Thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate it. Today I want to address something that many people overlook for spiritual growth and for anyone who's pursuing this path of transcendence, of enlightenment. It is about sexual misconduct, adultery, and sexuality in general is misunderstood by a lot of people. And I've been wanting to share this for a long time, but I think I was hesitant. I thought it wasn't the right time to share it. But then the universe guided me to share this with you now, and that's why I'm doing it. Normally, I like to keep these things just to myself or for the few people who are willing to listen to them. But I was guided to share this with everyone here on this channel, so maybe it's going to be useful for you. Sexuality has been twisted and misused by humanity since the beginning of time. It has been misused by humanity and by the gods as well, by the deities that many of you worship, that many of you work with. The sole purpose of sexuality on a physical plane, on a physical level, is reproduction. It's not for pleasure. When you go to higher realms, when you go to the heavens, to the higher heavens, sexuality doesn't exist in sex form. That energy is not there anymore. Because reproduction doesn't exist anymore in heaven. The beings are born out of thin air. The lust of wanting to have sex doesn't exist when you're a higher being. But you might ask, you just mentioned that the gods misused it as well. I'm talking about the lower gods. Because you know that many of the gods that our mythologies talk about, Greek mythology, Mesopotamian, with the Anunnaki, Hindu gods, you know that many of these gods, not all of them, but many of them are lower gods. Because in heaven, there are many planes of existence. And depending on the plane of existence, there is different gods. The lower gods still retain a physical form, and they can still reproduce sexually, just like humans. The lower gods, they're still more powerful, they're smarter, they have magical abilities that we don't have, they can understand things we don't understand. They're much higher than us because they are existing on a higher dimension. But they still have a physical form and they still have sex. So there's, as in male, female. That's why a lot of the pantheons around the world, when we talk about the gods, they're either males or females. Because they have a sex that defines them, physically speaking. Because those are the lower gods. The higher you go up in the echelon, sexuality disappears. Gender disappears and sexuality disappears. And the need to reproduce disappears. And creation becomes from thin air. So here's something I'm going to share with you that, again, that's why I like to keep these things to myself. A lot of you are not going to agree with this, but I don't care. I don't share what I share to get agreement from people. Sexuality and the act of sex and reproduction through sex is something that is only for the lower realms and lower beings of existence. It's not a divine energy, like what you hear many people say. Divine energy. Sexual energy is divine energy because it allows creation. You know what else allows creation? Energy that doesn't require sex. There are many things in the universe that were created without the need for sexual intercourse. And those things are way more beautiful than humans. Or what sexual intercourse leads to. But humans like to glorify everything they have. Humans like to glorify everything. They like to glorify tools. They like to glorify science, they like to glorify religions, they like to glorify sex, anything that gives them pleasure and satisfaction. They like to glorify it, and they write books about it, and they start saying how divine it is. Even in this field, how many people give power to tarot and to crystals and to tools, making them seem like they're something divine. They are just tools. You give them power or not. It's up to you. So most humans are conditioned to fall for sexual misconduct, lower frequencies, becoming addicted to sex, pornography. I mean, that's probably the pandemic of the world right now is pornography. You have kids being exposed to that since a young age. It's online, it's on the internet, and no one is doing anything about it. Yet, people all around the world glorify sex as if it's something amazing. Not only that, they commit sexual misconduct, adultery, they cheat, people cheating everywhere. This is not special to one country or the other. All around the world, people cheat on their partners, on their wives, on their husbands, without any shame. And don't even get me started on the concept of polygamy and all of that nasty lower frequency stuff that people are into. People are addicted to it, and they think it's something normal. Indulging in pleasures, such as destructive pleasures, and sex is one of them. You have alcohol, you have drugs, you have eating unhealthy, and you have sex. Indulging in these things leads you only to destruction. It doesn't lead to any enlightenment. If anything, it makes you far, 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 far away from enlightenment. Very far away. Not only that, society glorifies sex to the point that it's everywhere around you. You know the saying, sex sells, right? You know that. It's everywhere. Marketing campaigns around the world, movies, Hollywood, the music industry. As you wake up, you're bombarded with sexual images and sexuality as you wake up. And sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it's right there in your face. Sometimes it's very subtle. The Hollywood movies glorify it. Comedians glorify it. And it's becoming even part of the culture. When I used to be a normal person, the jokes, the funny jokes were all sexual jokes. And you have these comedians making jokes that are sexual and everyone is laughing. Thousands of people are laughing. Oh, just because they mentioned a sexual organ of a man or a woman. Ha 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 ha, that's very funny. Oh, they mentioned something sexual. Ha ha ha, it's funny. Humans are regressing. Social media have made it worse. People, every time they look at a beautiful person, man or woman, they start saying sexual comments about them. Where are we going? Where is the world heading? And people say we're heading into the age of enlightenment, the age of Aquarius. I think we're heading to the age of destruction. See, usually the most popular opinions that circulate are usually the wrong opinions. When people say we're heading to the age of enlightenment and Aquarius, it's usually the opposite. Because people want to believe something that is actually not there, so they deliberately blind themselves from seeing what's really happening. We're heading to the age of destruction. In Buddhism, this age is called the age of the decline of Dharma. Dharma are the teachings of the Buddha, and we are in the age of the decline of Dharma. Even the monotheistic religions, they say that we're in the end of times. There's some truth in there. Because when you look around you, this doesn't make sense. This is too much. This is getting out of hand. It's getting out of hand. Sometimes I can't believe the stuff I see or the stuff I read. I can't believe that humans are reaching this level of low frequency. It's beyond what I can comprehend. What happened to the eloquence of humanity, the sophistication of humanity, to being civilized, to being kind, to use your words kindly, to live with ethics, with principles. What happened to that? Of course, it's all gone. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. And sexuality is playing a big part of that. And there's nothing divine about sexuality. Nothing. Oh, because it gives birth to humans. You think it's divine because it gives birth to humans. The act of a sexual intercourse leads to the birth of a human being, and you think that's divine. So here's my question to you. Do you think humans are divine? Do you think humans are divine? I'm asking you. Look what they're doing to the world. So there's nothing divine about a human being born. There's nothing divine about that. And when I used to be a normal person, I used to fall for these things, and I know how it is. I know how it is for normal people with sexuality and cheating and all of that stuff. I know it. I'm not saying I'm a saint, but even when I was a normal person, I had principles. I had principles that didn't allow me to, for example, cheat. At least that was out of the question for me. And even back in the day, cheating used to sound like something horrendous. And now it's like just normal. It's beyond normal. Everything is sexualized. Everything. But let me tell you the repercussions of this according to Buddhism. Because I think you know what the monotheistic religions say about this, but let me tell you what Buddhism say about this, because it's very interesting and it's a different perspective. One of the 5 main precepts of Buddhism that you should never do, that the Buddha himself said, is sexual misconduct and to have more than one partner. Even the Buddha himself said that way before any Judaism or Islam or Christianity. He said that 2,600 years ago. He said sexual misconduct, stay away from it, and you're not supposed to have more than one partner if you choose to have a partner. Why? Why did he say that? Why? Why should we restrain from sexual misconduct and adultery? Because there's something called karma. In Buddhism, it is said that for each partner you cheated on and for each person you committed adultery with, your soul will be separated accordingly. If it's 10 times when you committed adultery, then your soul is going to separate it 10 times. And for some people, the soul becomes so separated that it finds it difficult to come back again into one soul, into one form. And when that happens, where do these fragments go to? Let's say a soul is fragmented into 20 pieces. Where do they go? They become part of nature. They start reincarnating as insects, mosquitoes, little worms, bugs. Yes. And it becomes more and more difficult for the soul to remember that it was human to begin with. For example, if one of these fragments became a mosquito, when that mosquito dies, it only reincarnates as a mosquito again. It doesn't know how to go back to its original form. And some souls end up becoming so fragmented that they don't know how to even reshape as a human. They just don't know how to do that anymore. And for the people who commit even worse sexual misconduct, pedophilia, and atrocious things, they go to lower realms, the realms of hell. And the hell has many realms as well, just like the heavens. The heavens above, there's many heavens. And the hells down, there's many hells. And the amount of suffering you get in these hells is undescribable. It's things that I'm not going to even mention. I'll let your imagination work that. So, adultery, sexual misconduct, cheating is something you should stay away from, because the karmic retribution for that is immense. And it is something that might jeopardize your soul, And sometimes karmic retributions have to be paid through your family. I'm going to give you an example. There was a man who had a beautiful family, and he had 2 kids, a beautiful wife, but then he became addicted to cheating, and he started cheating on the wife. Over time, many years have passed. The woman he was cheating with became pregnant, and now he's having a secret baby, but because of karma, he was busted. His secret wasn't a secret anymore, and everyone around knew that he was cheating. The wife ended up eventually knowing that he was cheating and that he even had a baby with the other woman. So the wife eventually decided to leave him, divorce, and take her kids with her. The man decided to go to the other woman with his new baby. When they started living together, she realized that he's not as rich as he was claiming it to be, that he's just making ends meet. When she learned that the guy is not actually a rich person, she left him with the baby. The outcome of that is he's alone. His life is destroyed. His family hates him. His wife hates him. His kids hate him. He lost everyone around him. People at work eventually knew. Because of that, he ended up getting fired. Because the boss of his company doesn't like people who cheat and who destroy their families. So he doesn't want to give an example that one of his workers, employees, is like that. So he ended up firing him. So he lost his job. His friends stopped talking to him as well because they lost all of the respect that they had for him. But it doesn't go even there. It goes beyond there. His kids were immensely hurt and their lives became miserable. Now, only the woman, only the wife had to support them. So she was struggling. She was trying to get a couple jobs. They weren't having as much money as before, so they were struggling more. So now the kids are struggling as well. The kids are seeing their family being destroyed. They hate their father, but they're struggling at the same time. So even the kids are paying karma of their father. The father is watching their kids suffer and he can't do anything about it because they don't want to talk to him even. They don't want to see him, they don't want to talk to him. As the kids grow up, they developed a traumatic experience. The daughter of the man who cheated, now she starts becoming attracted to toxic guys who cheat, just like her father. It's not her fault, but it's her subconscious that saw the behavior of her father, and now she's falling for toxic guys who treat her bad and who cheat on her. Look how this one man's, and this is just an example, how this one man's karmic retribution is echoing throughout his environment, his family, and it keeps going on to his kids. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's something that you don't want to have in your life. And this is just one example. And this is an example of karma you pay back while you're alive. I'm not talking about if you commit a sexual misconduct and you have to pay back the karma after your death. That's worse. Because it's going to be more horrible, especially if you end up in one of the lower realms, the realms of the hells. That's why the Buddha warned about sexual misconduct and adultery. One man went to the Buddha and told him, "Please, dear Buddha, help me, because I have a beautiful wife that I loved so much, and I'm married to her, and I have a family with her. But right now, I love another woman, and I can't stop thinking about her. And I don't want to sin. I don't want to mistreat my wife and cheat on her. What should I do?" The Buddha answered him, "Do you see those 3 candles over there?" He said, "Yes, I see them." The Buddha asked him, "Which one of those 3 candles is shining brighter?" The man responded, "They seem that they're all shining equally." So the Buddha asked him, "So which one is more beautiful out of those candles?" The man responded, "They're all equally beautiful." And then the Buddha told him, that's exactly how it is for the women. He said, this woman that you're in love with, you have these butterflies for her, and you're infatuated and you love her. And if you end up going to her and being with her, that is going to disappear. That infatuation, that love. And you're going to fall for another woman. And the same thing is going to happen with her. And then you're going to fall for another one, and another one, and another one. And that's how it is for people who think that they can't love one person because they're always chasing after what's shiny. They're chasing for something new, not knowing that when they attain that, they're going to repeat the cycle over and over and over. It's like having a new car, and then after a few months, you don't like it anymore, and you want another new car. And the same thing happens, and then a few months pass, and then you want another new car, and then a few months pass, and then you want another new car. That man, after hearing what the Buddha said, he told him, now I understand what you're saying. My wife is the only one for me, is the only one I love. And I will give her my whole life, and I will be with her forever. Because the man understood that chasing that thing or the pleasure, and it applies to sexuality too, is never gonna give you satisfaction. Because fulfillment and peace and harmony should be found within yourself. And that's the problem that happens to everyone around the world, because sex is just a pleasure. It's like shopping, it's like drugs, it's like alcohol. You're always chasing something. You're chasing pleasure. And that pleasure is momentary. It's like alcohol, because you think you're gonna enjoy alcohol, but then once you're drunk, how are you gonna enjoy it if you're drunk? We chase these pleasures, and then once we have them, we're not interested in them anymore, and we start chasing the next thing, and then chasing the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. Sexuality is not something divine. Otherwise, why do you think monks around the world choose a life of celibacy and renunciation? Why do you think monks cannot have sex? Why? Otherwise, if sex was divine, all the monks around the world should be able to have sex. Right? But sex is just like food. It's just something for pleasure. It's something that you just do to attain a momentary pleasure. That's all there is to it. No more, no less. Oh, but kids, I have kids, gives me babies. Yeah, then good luck with those kids. Go have kids. Tell me about how it is to raise them in this world right now. Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Especially in this day and age. Tell me how divine that is. Tell me how that's gonna make you closer to enlightenment. Oh, because it teaches me to love my kids. Really? Look at how the world is. You think parents really love their kids? It's more like they want to own their kids. It's ego. Most parents around the world just want their kids to be exactly what they want them to be. They think that their kids are little toys that they can control. They think that their kids belong to them and they're gonna do what they want them to do. You call that love? You call that having kids teach parents love? That's why these subjects, I hesitate to address them and I don't like to talk about them, because the world is not ready to hear these things. But again, for this video, I was guided to share it, and that's why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it because I thought it's a good idea. I'm doing it because I was told to do it, and that's why I'm doing it. And don't even get me started on the New Age spirituality and what they say about sex. Sex is divine. Sexuality is divine. It's the creative energy, and it's like something that it... And that leads usually to something that's so not spiritual, especially with Tantra, right? You know how that someone a few decades ago went to India and took whatever he wanted to take from Tantra and came back to the West, to America, and spreaded his BS about Tantra, and now it's a sexual thing in the West. It's just a sexual thing. Because even the word Tantra doesn't mean sex. In Sanskrit, it does not mean sex. But in the West, people think of it as sex. And I'm not going to even tell you about the practices that exists out there for this kind of stuff. It's literally prostitution. It's pornography. But people sugarcoat it as spirituality. There are people who provide services and call themselves spiritual gurus, but it's actually prostitution. Literally. It's prostitution or pornography, or it's like sex industry. That's what it is. But they label themselves as spiritual people. From sleeping with anyone and everyone, from orgies, from just like the most horrendous thing you can think of. And they call themselves enlightened. Please don't fall for that. Please don't fall for stuff like that. There is nothing divine about sexuality. Nothing. Nothing. I hate to break it down for you. You probably have never heard it from anyone. But there is nothing divine about sexuality. Sex brings you only to lower frequencies. And I repeat it, otherwise the monks wouldn't refrain from it. Otherwise, the monks and the Buddha himself wouldn't refrain from sexuality. Another proof that it's a lower frequency thing, look how it's been utilized all around the world, everywhere around you, in every product you buy, everywhere you go, every movie you see, every song you listen to, every lyric you hear, every text, every joke, everything is sexualized. Everything. But look what the world is. So you think that's divine? You still think sexuality is divine? Pornography is normalized almost. So what's next? What are we going to normalize next? Pedophilia? So sex is divine? Is that what it is? And don't get me started on sex magic and that bullshit. That kind of stuff for the occult. So here's the thing. Just don't be fooled when someone starts mixing sexuality and spirituality. Don't get fooled. That's the message that I was told to tell you guys. Don't get fooled when someone starts mixing spirituality and the spirit realm and divinity with sex. Because they don't go together. No matter what it is. Tantra, sex magic, sexual ritual, New Age spirituality. The moment you hear that there's sex involved in that, know that it's just there to fool you. And there is another marketing strategy because sex sells, because people are obsessed with sex. Because since you were young, you were programmed to be attracted to anything that is sexual. And stay away from people who always talk with sexual terms and sexual idioms and sexual jokes. Stay away from those people. You know, the people who always talk about sex, in any shape or form, either jokes or in the way they speak or anything, those people mean that they're always thinking about sex. Because we always speak what we think about. That means that's the only thing they're thinking about, and that's why they're using it in the way they talk. So yeah, if you have comedians who always talk about sex, it means the only thing they think about is sex. If you have movie writers and directors who bombard you in their movies with sexual scenes, and sometimes inappropriate sexual scenes with minors or whatnot, that means that these writers and these directors, that's all they're thinking about. It means that the only thing they're thinking about is sex. If a friend you have who's a good friend, who's always just saying sexual things all the time, it means that it's the only thing they think about. Stay away from those people. They're low vibrational people, and they're gonna take you away from connecting to the spirit realm, to divinity, and to anything that is sophisticated, civilized, and eloquent. You want to become closer to a god level, stay away from sexuality. But the lower gods, they were obsessed with sex. That's why Zeus raped many women, Poseidon as well. Because they could change their shape or form, but they still were able to have sex. And that's why they were gods that did a lot of atrocious things. They did a lot of sexual misconduct. I mean, just go read the mythologies and you'll see what these gods have done. I mean, in the book of Enoch, that the fallen angels, they call them the fallen angels, you can call them demigods or demons, the ones who came and started raping the women of earth, human women. So here again, sex. Stay away from adultery. If you have a beautiful partner that you love, that you respect, that means so much to you, stick to them. I'm not saying don't have sex with them. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that respect them. Stop looking at everything in a sexual way. Know that sexuality doesn't lead you to any spiritual progress. And finally, the karmic retributions for sexual misconduct and adultery is something you really don't want to know. That's all I'm gonna say. That is something I want to remind you of. Please, stay away from that. If you have a beautiful soul, a partner that you love, who's with you, and you guys are happy together, please stick with them. And respect them. Don't cheat on them. If you can be together, it's okay. It's okay to go your separate ways, but don't cheat. Don't cheat. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.